I needed a husband and powerful children, whispered the giant alien widow to the human man. Marcus Harlan had never seen a sky like this before. The colors shifted as if someone had spilled molten metals across the horizon, green melting into violet, violet bleeding into gold. His small shuttle drifted over a landscape that defied everything he had learned in the academy. Mountains floated like islands in a sea of clouds, and rivers ran not along the land, but through the air, twisting in impossible patterns before disappearing into the mist. He had come to Violia to map new planets, yet nothing in his training prepared him for this. The Aurora's instruments were going wild. Every sensor screamed anomalies, gravity fluctuating, time behaving strangely, magnetic fields fluctuating as if they were alive. He frowned and adjusted the controls, trying to stabilize his descent. Violia wasn't just unusual. It was alive in a way that made Marcus feel small, fragile, and curiously awake all at once. Then the shuttle shuddered violently. A pulse of energy, invisible but palpable, slammed into the hull. Warning lights flared, and Marcus struggled to keep control. He tried to engage the thrusters, but the controls felt sticky, resisting his commands as if the planet itself was testing him. The screen in front of him flickered and went black for a moment, and when it came back, he was no longer above the swirling clouds. The shuttle had landed, softly, impossibly, as though Violia itself had caught him. The door hissed as he opened it and stepped out. The first thing he noticed was the size of everything. Trees rose like skyscrapers, their leaves shimmering with a light of their own. He blinked. His instincts screamed that he should be terrified, but instead he felt something unfamiliar, awe, curiosity, and a strange sense of welcome. Then he heard the sound, a deep, resonant hum that seemed to vibrate from the ground, the air, and perhaps from the planet itself. Marcus turned, heart pounding, and saw her. She was taller than any human he had ever imagined, her limbs long and graceful, and her skin glimmered with a soft iridescence. Her eyes were enormous, golden, and filled with an intelligence that made Marcus's own mind feel small in comparison. "I have been waiting for you," she said, her voice echoing not only through the air but somehow inside his head. Marcus stumbled back, unsure if he had spoken out loud or if the voice was inside him. I don't understand," he stammered, glancing around. "Waiting for me? Why?" "That is why I need you." With her, he glanced at her, seeing no threat in her luminous eyes, only longing and a weight that spoke of centuries of loneliness. "You want me for your children?" he asked carefully. "I'm human. I don't even know if you carry the potential to create life that could survive what my species could not. My children, with a human, could inherit the best of both worlds." It sounded impossible, absurd, almost like a dream. And yet, looking into her golden eyes, he could sense the truth of her words. "You are serious?" he asked, his voice barely above a whisper. Kelara nodded. "I do not ask this lightly. I have watched your kind across the stars. Humans are unusual, remarkable in ways few can understand. You can adapt. You can endure. You can love, even when the odds are against you. That is why I chose you. To leave a legacy that spanned not just worlds, but life itself. I need time," he said finally, taking a cautious step backward. Kelara's glow dimmed slightly, but she did not look angry or disappointed. "You may take what time you need," she said. "But know this, the longer you hesitate, the harder it will be to leave this place unscathed. Violia is not merely a planet, it tests those who enter. Those who cannot embrace their path do not leave. Show me why I should stay. Show me what I would be a part of." Marcus felt a strange pull in his chest, and suddenly the world shifted. They were no longer standing in the open forest. Instead, they were atop a platform high above a city of impossible scale. Towers rose into the clouds, bridges arched between them like delicate threads, and streams of glowing light moved through the streets below like rivers of living energy. "This city," Kelara said, her voice carrying a note of pride, "was once home to billions of my kind. It is the heart of what remains. You see it now, but it will demand more from you than mere admiration. You will walk its streets, solve its challenges, and understand its secrets. Only then will you be ready to truly join me." Every building, every light, every pulse of energy responded to him, acknowledging him, testing him. "Why me?" he asked, glancing at Kelara. "There must be countless others, humans or even aliens, who could do this. Because your species has endured, even when weaker, even when outnumbered. You carry a spark I have not seen in millennia. That is why you are here." He nodded slowly. "Then I will try, but I need to understand this world, your world, before I can make a choice. And perhaps, in time, you will see that it is a world worth staying for." The city below seemed to shimmer brighter, and for the first time Marcus felt as though he belonged, even in a world so alien that every sense screamed disbelief. "Do you feel it?" Kelara asked. Yes," Marcus admitted. "It's alive, and it's waiting for me. To survive here, to thrive here, you will need to shed what you think you know. Only then can you become the partner and father I hope for. But do not fear, you are not alone. I am here." There would be tests, challenges, and choices that might strain his courage, intelligence, and heart. But for the first time in his life, he felt a strange excitement, a thrill that only came from standing on the edge of something monumental, something that could change not only his life but the fate of an entire species. And as he looked into Kelara's eyes once more, Marcus understood that he had arrived at the point of no return. His human ingenuity, his adaptability, and his courage would be needed here. And whether he realized it or not, humanity had already begun leaving its mark on Violia. The wind carried a whisper across the platform, a vibration that seemed to echo both through his ears and through his mind. "Welcome, Marcus Harlan. Your story has begun." And yet, despite everything, he knew one thing for certain. This was where he belonged, at least for now. And he would not run. The journey had begun. Marcus felt the warmth of Kelara's hand still lingering in his own as the alien city stretched before him. Every tower glimmered with energy, every bridge arched impossibly into the clouds, and every pathway seemed to hum with life. Yet even as the city impressed him, a tiny part of him shivered. He realized that beauty and danger were intertwined here. Violia's allure was not just visual, it was alive, testing him at every step. Kelara led him to a vast square at the city's heart. The ground pulsed under their feet, faintly vibrating in rhythm with the energy surrounding them. "This city is older than most civilizations in the galaxy," she explained. "It survived wars, plagues, and betrayals. Yet now it waits for someone who can understand it and protect it. That someone is you, Marcus. You belong because you are capable of more than you realize. But to truly belong, you must prove it, not to me, but to this city and to yourself." Floating platforms rose and fell like breathing lungs, and rivers of liquid light snaked through the streets, forming new pathways where needed. Marcus had to focus on every step. One miscalculation could send him tumbling into an unknown abyss. They arrived at a tall spire at the center of the city. Its walls shimmered with energy, reflecting patterns that seemed to anticipate his every thought. "The first trial is simple in words but complex in reality," Kelara said. "You must navigate this spire, find the heartstone at its top, and return safely. It will test your mind, your courage, and your creativity." Every movement was met with reaction. Steps shifted, surfaces tilted, and lights changed, making him doubt the solidity of everything around him. He took a deep breath. "Then I'll try," he said, more to himself than to Kelara. The spire's entrance was a shimmering arch that seemed to pull him in with a subtle force. As he stepped through, the world shifted. Gravity tilted sideways. Walls became floors. A hallway stretched infinitely upward, though he knew logically it could not. Marcus's mind raced to adapt, to find patterns in the chaos. He realized the spire was testing his ability to think creatively. There were no fixed rules here, only possibilities. A glowing panel on the wall presented a puzzle, symbols rearranging themselves faster than his eyes could follow. He focused, blocking out panic, and slowly discerned a sequence. Pressing the symbols in the correct order, the wall shifted to reveal a path. As he climbed higher, another challenge awaited. A vast chasm opened before him, too wide to jump, with platforms floating irregularly in midair. Marcus studied the patterns. The platforms moved in predictable rhythms, though the timing required precision. He leaped from one to another, sometimes catching the edge with his fingertips, sometimes sliding across a surface just as it aligned beneath him. Every step demanded focus, every mistake could cost him his life, or so it felt. Yet he did not panic. He felt the strange energy of the spire guiding him, responding to his determination. At the next stage, he entered a chamber filled with mirrored surfaces. Each reflection showed not just him but multiple versions of himself, each moving slightly differently, each whispering doubts and fears. Marcus felt a surge of panic. Which reflection was real? Which path should he take? Then he remembered Kalara's words. The city tests not just the body but the mind. He closed his eyes briefly, listening to the faint hum of energy beneath his feet, and trusted his instincts. When he opened his eyes, the mirrors shifted, revealing a narrow passage forward. Hours seemed to pass as he navigated the spire. Each trial was designed not to harm, but to challenge, to push him beyond the limits of human expectation. Marcus realized that every step he took was teaching him the rhythms of this world, the patterns of its life force. He began to feel connected, not just to the city, but to Kalara, to the purpose she had whispered about, creating life that could endure, that could thrive. Finally, he reached the top. The Heartstone hovered before him, a crystalline structure glowing with pulsing energy. Marcus felt a strange warmth radiate from it, as if the stone could sense his efforts. He reached out and touched it. Instantly, knowledge and visions flooded his mind. He saw glimpses of Kalara's past, her species thriving, the plague that wiped them out, her endless solitude, and the hope that had kept her alive. He understood why she needed him, why humans were capable of creating the hybrid children she envisioned. He also felt the weight of responsibility settle on his shoulders. This was bigger than exploration or discovery. This was survival for her species, and perhaps, in ways he could not yet comprehend, for humanity too. The descent was no easier than the climb. The city seemed to shift in response to his thoughts, testing his adaptability and patience. Platforms moved unexpectedly, paths changed, and illusions of danger appeared, but Marcus had learned to trust his instincts. Each challenge became a lesson, each obstacle a teacher. By the time he reached the base of the spire, he was exhausted but exhilarated. Kalara waited for him at the square. Her expression radiated pride. "You have done well," she said simply. Marcus tried to catch his breath, nodding, feeling the strange mixture of relief and achievement. "Why these tests?" he asked. "Why not just trust me?" "That is why you have passed. And they will carry both your species and mine into a new age." He glanced around the square, taking in the alien beauty, the shimmering streets, the glowing towers, and the subtle hum that seemed to breathe with the city. This place, as alien and impossible as it seemed, was becoming a home in a way he could not yet fully understand. Kalara stepped closer, her immense presence both comforting and inspiring. "Do you understand now, Marcus?" she asked softly. "Do you understand why you are here? You must continue to trust yourself, and trust what you and I can create together." And here in Violia, he would prove that human courage, intelligence, and resilience could not only survive in an alien world, they could shape it, protect it, and even help another species rise from the brink of extinction. As night fell over the floating city, the rivers of light glowing brighter against the dark sky, Marcus allowed himself a moment to gaze at the stars. He could see his home, far away in the Milky Way, a tiny blue dot in the distance. And yet he felt no longing to return, at least not yet. Here in this impossible city he had found purpose, challenge, and perhaps something even greater, a connection that transcended species, worlds, and lifetimes. Kelara's voice whispered beside him, soft and comforting. "Rest now, Marcus. Tomorrow the trials continue. And remember, whatever happens, you are already extraordinary. That is why you are here." For the first time in his life, Marcus Harlan understood that adventure was more than exploration. Adventure was responsibility. Adventure was growth. Adventure was hope. And tomorrow, the real tests would begin. Marcus woke to a strange, gentle hum vibrating through the city. The floating platforms glimmered softly, and the rivers of liquid light pulsed as if breathing. Kelara stood nearby, her towering figure outlined by the morning glow. "It is time," she said softly. "The next stage begins today." It responded to him. It tested him. And he knew that if he failed, the future of Kelara's species, and perhaps the hybrid children she hoped for, would be at stake. Kelara led him to a series of chambers suspended above a vast courtyard. Each chamber appeared empty at first glance, yet Marcus felt the energy of unseen forces pressing against his mind. "This stage is about understanding," Kelara explained. "You have survived the tests of strength and adaptability. Now you must learn to connect, not only with the city but with me and with the life that could come from us." Her loneliness, her resilience, and the weight of centuries of survival pressed upon him. He realized that the trials were as much about emotional and intellectual growth as they were about physical skill. The first chamber shimmered and shifted, forming an open space filled with shapes that seemed to float in midair. Marcus realized they were fragments of memories, Kelara's memories, images from her past projected into the chamber. He saw her species thriving on distant worlds, vast cities illuminated with energy, and forests that stretched into the sky. He saw battles with natural disasters, the plague that had devastated them, and the desolate solitude Kelara had endured. "It is overwhelming," Marcus admitted. "How can anyone carry so much and survive?" He tried to understand the logic, the patterns, and the consequences of actions taken centuries ago. He realized that Kelara's species had once been brilliant, capable of shaping worlds. Yet even brilliance could not prevent catastrophe without adaptability and cooperation. Humans had survived precisely because they could adapt in ways Kelara's species often could not. A new projection appeared, a scenario where a hybrid child, part human and part Kalaran, faced a challenge that neither species alone could solve. Marcus watched as the child navigated impossible terrain, solved puzzles, and used both human ingenuity and Kalaran abilities to succeed. He felt a surge of excitement. The possibility was real. The future Kelara envisioned could exist, and he could help make it happen. The next chamber tested communication. Marcus entered a room where shapes and lights shifted constantly, forming a complex language he had never seen. Kelara explained that this was the original language of her people, a combination of thought patterns and energy pulses. Marcus focused, recalling the patterns he had noticed in the spire. Slowly, he began to mimic the pulses, feeling the energy respond to his intentions. Kelara watched silently. "Good," she said. "You are learning to connect with more than your eyes. You are learning to connect with the essence of life itself. That is the first step toward what we will create together." Marcus moved from chamber to chamber, each testing a different aspect of his mind and spirit. One chamber required him to solve puzzles using both logic and intuition. Another tested patience, forcing him to wait as the environment shifted unpredictably. In each, Marcus learned more about Kelara's species, about the world, and about himself. By the time he emerged from the final chamber, he was exhausted but exhilarated. Kelara awaited him, her presence both comforting and inspiring. "You have done well," she said. "You are beginning to understand, but understanding alone is not enough. You must act, and the galaxy will test your actions soon." "The city, the children, what do you mean?" "This is the moment where human ingenuity becomes essential." Humans had always survived because they could think quickly, improvise, and act decisively. Here, those qualities would be needed more than ever. The first sign of threat appeared at the city's edge, a fleet of small ships, glinting with technology unlike anything Marcus had seen. They hovered above Violia, scanning, observing, waiting. Marcus felt a surge of adrenaline. These ships were advanced, precise, and clearly meant to intimidate, or worse. Kelara took his hand, guiding him to a high platform overlooking the courtyard. "You must use what you have learned," she said. "Think like a human, act like a Kalaran. Only then can we protect this city and the future it holds." He noted their patterns, their movements, and the way their energy pulses resonated with the city's own. He realized that brute force would not win this battle. The solution required creativity, strategy, and precision. He began to experiment, using his understanding of the city's energy. Channels of light responded to his intentions, shifting in ways that confused the intruders. Bridges and pathways altered subtly, creating barriers and redirecting energy flows. The ships hesitated, unable to adapt as quickly as the city itself. Marcus smiled faintly. This was the advantage humans could provide: quick thinking, adaptability, and the courage to act decisively. Kelara watched him closely, pride evident in her expression. "You are learning faster than I imagined." The city responds to your creativity because it recognizes potential. That is the gift of humanity. Tomorrow, you will begin to prepare for what comes next. You will learn to nurture, to teach, and to guide. The first steps toward the children we hope to bring into the world. They will need your mind, your creativity, and your courage, and the galaxy will need them to survive. The idea of children, hybrid beings capable of extraordinary things, filled him with a strange mix of awe and determination. He realized that this was not merely about survival or exploration. This was about shaping a future that could change the galaxy itself. Night fell, and the city shimmered under the alien sky. Rivers of light flowed like veins, and the towers seemed to pulse with life. Marcus felt a connection growing within him, a bond with Kelara, with the city, and with the possibilities of what they could create together. He lay down on a platform, gazing at the stars. The distant light of other civilizations blinked faintly across the void, unaware of the small human who had begun to leave an indelible mark on an alien world. Marcus realized that humanity's greatest strength had always been its ability to adapt, to imagine, and to endure. Here, that strength was not only recognized, it was essential. Kelara's voice whispered softly, carrying warmth and reassurance. "Rest now, Marcus. Tomorrow, we will begin to create life together. And remember, every step you take strengthens the bond between our species. You are not alone, and the future awaits your courage." Yet he also felt hope. Hope that human ingenuity, combined with Kelara's wisdom and the potential of their future children, could overcome anything. And as he drifted into a light sleep, he dreamed not only of alien skies and impossible cities, but of a future in which humans and Kalarans could walk side by side, united by courage, creativity, and a shared destiny. The next stage had begun. The city of Violia shimmered under twin suns, casting long, dancing shadows across the floating platforms and rivers of light. Marcus Harlan stood beside Kelara on the edge of a high tower, watching the city pulse with energy. The months since his trials had passed in a whirlwind of learning, experimentation, and connection. The city had become familiar to him, yet still held its mysteries, shifting in ways that reminded him it was alive. Kelara turned to him, her eyes glowing softly. "The children will be born soon," she said. Marcus felt a mix of excitement and apprehension. He had prepared as best he could, learning to channel energy through the city, mastering communication with Kelara's species, and understanding the delicate balance of life that she had preserved for centuries. Yet the thought of hybrid children, part human, part Kalaran, filled him with awe. "They will be extraordinary," Kelara continued, her voice filled with warmth. "And they will need both of us to guide them, to teach them what it means to live, to survive. and to thrive in a galaxy that will not wait for them to grow. Small seedlings infused with energy pulses, almost like miniature hearts of light, had begun to grow within the city's chambers. These were the first indications of the hybrid children, and each one carried a spark of both human and Kalaran brilliance. Days turned into weeks. Marcus and Kalara worked tirelessly, blending Kalaran knowledge of energy manipulation with human creativity. They built chambers filled with flowing light and structures that responded to thought. The city itself seemed to nurture the children, pulsing in rhythm with their growth. Marcus marveled at the way the energy adapted to each child, creating an environment where they could learn and thrive naturally. When the first child emerged, Marcus felt a rush of emotion unlike anything he had ever experienced. The small being was radiant, a perfect blend of human and Kalaran traits. Its eyes shone with intelligence beyond its size, and Marcus felt an immediate connection. He reached out, gently touching the child's hand, and a spark of recognition passed between them, as if the child understood him already. Kalara smiled. "They are ready to learn," she said softly, "and they will need to learn quickly. The galaxy is watching, and not all who watch are kind." Virelia's energy had shielded them so far, but other civilizations had noticed the unusual activity. Some might seek to exploit it, others to destroy it. Humanity had survived because of courage, intelligence, and adaptability. Here, those same qualities would be tested on a galactic scale. Training the children became their primary focus. Marcus taught them problem-solving, strategy, and adaptability, while Kalara guided them in energy manipulation and communication with the living city. Each child learned quickly, absorbing knowledge at a rate that astonished Marcus. They could sense energy flows, anticipate challenges, and even manipulate small aspects of the city's environment. As weeks passed, the children grew stronger and more aware. Marcus realized that their abilities were far beyond human or Kalaran norms. One child could reshape the flow of a river of light, another could anticipate and solve complex patterns instinctively. Marcus felt pride, but also responsibility. These children were more than offspring. They were the bridge between two species, a symbol of resilience, ingenuity, and hope. One evening, as the twin suns dipped below the horizon, Marcus sensed a disturbance at the edge of the city. Advanced ships, sleek and glowing, approached, scanning for life forms. These were not curious explorers, they were invaders, aware of the hybrid children and the power that the city now contained. Marcus felt his pulse quicken, but he did not panic. Kalara placed her hand on his arm. "Do not fear," she said. "You have taught them well, and you have taught me as well. Together we can protect them." Pathways shifted, energy barriers rose, and the floating platforms rearranged to form natural defenses. The invaders fired pulses of energy, but the city absorbed and redirected them. Marcus guided the children, showing them how to channel their abilities. One child created a barrier of energy, another redirected the invaders' pulses back at their ships, and a third manipulated light to confuse sensors. The invaders hesitated, clearly unprepared for such coordination. Marcus realized then what he had always believed. Human ingenuity combined with Kalaran knowledge could outthink even the most advanced adversaries. The children, guided by his strategy and Kalara's wisdom, had become a force capable of defending Virelia and its future. After the invaders withdrew, Marcus stood beside Kalara, watching the city settle back into its peaceful rhythm. The children laughed, their radiant forms moving effortlessly across the chambers, experimenting with their powers, learning and growing. Marcus felt an overwhelming sense of pride. Humanity had not only survived, it had contributed to something greater than any individual life. Kalara's gaze met his. "They are ready," she said, "ready to face the galaxy, to show that life can endure, adapt, and flourish." He realized that humanity's traits, courage, creativity, resilience, had been amplified through them. The children were not only hybrid beings, They were symbols of what humans could contribute to the universe. Days turned into months, and the children continued to grow rapidly. They explored the city, mastering its energy flows and understanding its ancient systems. Marcus and Kelara guided them, but each child developed unique strengths. Some excelled in strategy, others in energy manipulation, and some in understanding the rhythms of life itself. The city itself seemed to recognize their importance. Paths and platforms shifted to accommodate their growth, and energy pulses resonated with their presence. Marcus realized that Violia had accepted them, not just as protectors, but as a new generation meant to continue the legacy of an ancient species. Word of their existence spread slowly across the galaxy. Some civilizations approached with curiosity, others with caution. Marcus met with delegates from distant systems, explaining their purpose, their intentions, and the potential of the hybrid children. He realized that diplomacy, strategy, and intelligence would be as vital as strength and energy manipulation. Humanity's ability to adapt, communicate, and solve problems became a bridge between species. One day, as Marcus trained the children in a floating chamber above the city, Kelara appeared with a calm expression. "You have done well," she said. "The galaxy is beginning to understand that life, in all its forms, can survive and thrive when courage, intelligence, and collaboration are applied." He had come to Violia as an explorer, uncertain and alone. Now he stood as a guide, a teacher, and a partner in shaping the future of two species. Humanity had left its mark, not through conquest, but through resilience, creativity, and courage. The children's laughter echoed through the chambers. Marcus smiled, realizing that this was the true reward. The legacy they would leave, hybrid beings capable of extraordinary feats, was proof that human potential could extend far beyond Earth, beyond even the stars. As night fell, the twin suns' glow fading into the city's pulsing lights, Marcus reflected on how far they had come. Kelara stood beside him, her presence both comforting and inspiring. "Do you see?" she asked softly. "You have not only survived, you have created life that can change the course of the galaxy. And when we are given a purpose, we can shape the future in ways even we cannot imagine. The future is ours to guide." The children moved around them, radiating light and energy, laughing and exploring the city. Marcus knew that their abilities would continue to grow, that their influence would spread, and that they would face challenges greater than any he had imagined. But he also knew this: humans could endure, humans could adapt, and humans could leave a legacy far beyond the limits of a single world. As Marcus looked at Kelara, at the children, and at the city, he realized that the story had only just begun. The galaxy would remember this moment, the moment when humanity, through courage, intelligence, and resilience, became not just explorers, but protectors and creators of life itself. And for the first time in his life, Marcus Harlan felt truly at home.